Good morning, everyone, and welcome to 301. Um, Today we're going to we're going to still continue on the story that we've been working on in the 101 and 201. I'm going to share this document with you guys. Um, this is just everything that we've been working on. So this has all the prompts. So if you guys want to work with me, you can.
Did you get 2 snacks today?
So in it, we have like the main story idea. I wrote down, I put down like all the things when we worked with the laser tools, and then everything we used to fill out the story Bible. So everything in the brain dump, genre, style, synopsis, all that stuff I've included. I'll update it too as we work with the beats and the prose. And then today I was also going to show you kind of what Sudowrite has been working on regarding character and world building boxes. So we're going to go ahead and pull up this one. Oh, and I'm going to share this document as well. I forgot. I should share this document as well. This is a beginner's guide to Sudowrite. If you attended my 201s or the 101s and 201s, it's the same document, but we're going to continue working with this document as well. So in it just gives you writing tips and all that stuff. It has a bunch of links. If you guys get stuck or if you need more and additional information, I've done the links in here. So like this one, Nicole has a really great YouTube channel and a beginner's list if you want to go more in depth. She also has some really great books out on working with AI. And I also have Sudowrite links. So if you guys would like to join more classes, do not be afraid to sign up for 101s, 201s, 301s as much as you'd like. You know, the program is constantly changing, so please attend classes as much as you can. And then today, we're going to be working again in that story Bible. So we're actually going to, since we did complete the outline, we're actually going to start working on our beats. So down here in this section, we worked on some of the like how to get better chapter outlines and stuff like that. And I was thinking we'll just start with chapter 2. I thought it sounded interesting, the will, and then him actually getting the harp that's supposed to be cursed. So we'll work on chapter 2 in this. So now that you've completed your outline, if you're content with your outline and you've done all of your editing and you're ready, where you go ahead and hit chapter 2 and then hit create chapter. You can also do the same thing up here, add new, and then you can hit that chapter 2. This is now connected to your story Bible once you've completed that outline. So you just hit create, and then it'll show up in your documents over here. This box will appear. This is your chapter generator. It will show that it's linked to your chapter 2, and you'll know it's linked because it'll actually you'll be able to read what's in your actual outline here. At the top corner here, if you don't want the chapter generator, you can just toggle that off and on. And that's another thing too, is if you go up and you're not seeing it, check and make sure that that's actually toggled on. This is where you're going to get your beats. Your beats are your outline for the chapter. So this is the theme creation for each one of these chapters. So all you have to do for this is hit that generate beats. It will take the information that you have already put in that outline section, and now it'll start populating it into scenes that it believes would fit your chapter. So this is just how those this is how we'll work on those beats today. Like Nicole mentioned in chat, we have a class specifically on beats coming up. It's tomorrow, isn't it, Nicole?
Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow at 3 Central.
Okay, yeah. So tomorrow at 3 Central, we'll be doing a class specifically just on these beats. So today I'm just going to do kind of the basics. We'll go much more in depth tomorrow, and then how to do better prompting and stuff for it. I should also let you guys know that I'm a little under the weather, so if I do end up muting myself, it's just because I'm going into a coughing frenzy, and you guys do not need to hear that. So Here is your beats. It generates the beats. It usually does about anywhere from like 12 to 15 is usually the average it'll give you. Um, each one of these beats is connected to the second one. So 1 and 2 is considered a stride. And when you start creating and generating your chapter, those strides are actually, both of those are written together. So um, the strides, so it will write these two together. It usually averages out, I don't know, I'd say 300 to 500 words maybe. If you can't, so you can see with this, it'll give you an estimated word count of what the amount of strides that or the amount of beats that I have now. This is about what it'll come to, is about 2,600 words is what Sudowrite will generate for me. And then this is the estimated cost of your credits to generate that chapter. This is using balanced. So it automatically defaults to that balanced. But it's nice because it's actually giving you the estimated word count and how much it will cost to generate that whole chapter, including those credits. Now, to go into these, me as a writing craft teacher, I would go through and I would edit this to the point that you like it. If you feel that there's something missing, or if you keep noticing something's popping up, like maybe it's starting to add in science fiction elements you hadn't expected and stuff like that. Again, go back and check what's in your brain dump, your genre, and your style. Make sure, because those are the things that affect your beats. Make sure you're going through and looking at what's affecting those beats and why things are appearing in here that shouldn't. So we had a great question yesterday on characters that can sometimes show up when they're not supposed to be there. So this first one, Leo and Sophia arrive in a lawyer's office with a small group of people gathered for the reading of Tomas as well. Leo's tension is palpable as he is anxiously awaiting his inheritance. So this he, I would make sure to change it to Leo. And the same for this one, Leo's. Reading it as a writer, you're going to hate it. But this way, you don't want it to suddenly confuse who he and his is. You don't want it to suddenly confuse, maybe it's Tomas's inheritance. You want to be able to follow. So that's one trick that Nicole had shown me to get rid of characters randomly appearing in your story that are not supposed to be there. Like this, the lawyer, he doesn't have a name. You may want to give him a name, because now most likely the AI will populate in a name for him. This one, Leo's heart skips a beat as he hears. So again, change that to Leo. That Leo has inherited. And actually I'd say his, I don't know, I actually would put in Tomas, I think. So I'm going to just work on these first two strides anyway. Now, this might not be enough for it to actually create enough words. And so you want to make sure that you're actually giving meat to the LLMs to actually produce this, and make it better, a better prose. So let's say they arrive in the lawyer's office. Maybe it's not enough. This right here, tension is palpable. That will probably appear a lot, because it's just one of those purple prose in the AI, especially if you use ones like most accurate, which will actually take your wording almost exact from your outline, from your brain dump, from your beats. Most accurate will follow those exact. So if you don't want purple prose like this, you may want to take that stuff out. So maybe this isn't enough. Maybe I do need to take this in and go, I don't like that. I mean, we already know that he's going to be, upset because it is obviously going to be the reading of a will. So maybe you just want to take that out and put in, he comes into the office and the lawyer begins a reading announcing, and then he's going to inherit the heart. And then this way, now 3 becomes number 2. Same thing in the outline. if you don't change the numbers, it doesn't matter. This is showing 13, but when you check your beats, there's a little button down at the very bottom. You hit check beats, it will only show 12 because I did combine those two together and got rid of that 2. It will automatically update it to 2. This is also another thing. So you might find at the bottom. So this one actually ends well. The chapter ends with Leo making decisions to incorporate the harp into his upcoming gifts. You know, like that's good. That sometimes in the end it'll say, make sure this chapter is lighthearted and uplifting, or make sure it's slow and ambient and heartbreaking. You might get those every once in a while. You can use those in what's called a header. So let's say there's something very, very specific. So I should let you guys know now. And this is just something that your Sudowrite reads from the outline before it starts producing the prose. But let's say there's something that's really important that happens in chapter 1. Sudowrite doesn't read from previous chapters or from later chapters. It only reads the information it's given in the brain dump, in the story Bible. It'll only read the information here to produce that prose. So if it's not in there and you know it happened, this is a really good time to include it. So like in here, if I wanted to go, Leo and Sophia are still fighting from last night. So like, let's say that was an important part. And that is how the chapter ended. Leo and Sophia were still fighting. Leo found out his grandfather died and they never actually finished their argument. So to me, that is something that's important that the AI needs to know. So include that in your header. You can also include things like, make sure that it's third person POV from Leo's POV. So don't be afraid to overtell the AI things, especially if you're doing things like a romance and you're changing the POV from the heroine to the hero, or interchanging those chapters one from the other. Don't be afraid to tell the AI in which section. You can also do it because I know some people go, well, half the chapter is written from Leo's point of view, but then the other half is going to be written from Amelia's. Well, that's fine. You can do that too. At the end of each one of these, you can also include notes. So here, I want to make sure like Leo is upset throughout the reading of the will. So maybe that's important. I want my readers to know that he's upset throughout the reading of the will. So, if that's something that's important just for this section or just for this beat, don't be afraid to include that here.
Quick question.
Sure.
Do the brackets tell the AI, like, I'm telling you this information, but don't go wild with it, like, and recreate that scene? Is it like treated like a like backstory, or is that more for our sanity?
Yeah, so I guess that's a good question, but honestly, it's probably both. And so, like in this one, when I'm saying Leo and Sophia are fighting from last night, that is basically letting the AI know that even though Leo and Sophia arrive at the doctor's, like the lawyer's office, they're still upset with each other at this point in the story.
Okay,
thanks. If this makes sense. So like, that's just letting the AI know what is previous. So like, that's an important thing. So like, let's say that Tomas like dies, like, let's say this is an action one and he dies halfway through the book, and you don't want the AI to bring Tomas back in unless it's in like past tense. You can always repeat Tomas is passed away in, chapter 3. That way the AI knows, because it's not going to read that from other chapters. It could read it from the outline, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it won't try and bring that character back in. So anything that you need the AI to know from the beginning is important here. And I actually included that in the story Bible. So in the beats section, adapt for the This is characters beats. This one, create your scenes. There's some, I have different ones, like maintain the dark and sinister atmosphere throughout this chapter. Use vivid descriptions and unsettling imagery. So I like to write a lot of horror, and this is one of my favorite headers to put in. You can also do this one. Please write in past tense, third person, deep point of view. So I included that. So that's in that document that I shared. If you guys want to do this, this is another thing I like to do, and I'm going to add this in. And I think we've changed it, haven't we, Nicole? It's not avoid dialogue tags anymore, isn't it? Didn't we figure out there was a better way to word it?
Well, somebody said, Lauren said that was actually working for her again lately. It has stopped working for a while. I typically use naked dialogue or omit.
Okay. Okay, so let's do that. Let's add that one in.
And I will copy a new beat header that I made that a lot of people are liking too, so y'all can play around and see which one y'all like.
Yep, so I'll just add this to what I already have. And thank you, Nicole. That would be great. I would love to try that out. So I'm not sure if all of you guys know what dialogue tags are. I will show you. You will see, and AIs love to do them. I'm hoping this helps, but it doesn't always. It's always an action followed by dialogue. It's always, that's what a dialogue tag is a dialogue followed by action, and not necessarily action that's necessary to the scene. So that's why when you are taught in an English class how to write dialogue, a lot of times your English teacher will say, you don't have to use just said, you can use yells and whispers and all these other ones. It's true. Plus you can use dialogue tags, and that is, unless the action is important to the scene, you don't need to use any of those. As a matter of fact, it's probably better if you do just Leo said, Sophia said, the lawyer said. It's actually easier for your readers because they just want to get into the story. You don't have to fluff it up. They just want to know what's being said because they want to know the important information. And so that's the only reason I suggest avoiding dialogue tags. Plus, you'll see it is a very AI thing to do. And I'm hoping that this helps. I'm hoping it helps again, because we've had to change the prompt a few times. And again, that's just working with LLMs. They are constantly updating the programs to be better, and therefore the prompting changes, and your prompting has to change as well. So don't be afraid to constantly be changing. So even though I gave you these headers, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So make sure you're constantly changing these examples to fit what the kind of writing that you prefer. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to do these first two. I'm going to change this so that hopefully that it doesn't try and bring anyone else. Leo hesitates to ensure if Leo wants to be burdened with the weight. Legacy and the potential power of the inspiration. Okay, so we have those two. I'm going to go ahead and hide my beat checker. And then now, with the beats, now I'm going to go also into the different modes. So these are the different LLMs that are used. I put little notes next to them. This is kind of what people have said about the different ones. I think there's a few more now. Actually, I think that there's a few more now. Like Mixed Roll is in there now, and then Claude has a few other ones that are in here now. Don't be afraid to play around with the different the different models. They all cost different. Most accurate is the most expensive. So you'll see it jumped up to, it'll cost you $42,000 to generate this entire chapter. I'm going to go ahead and just do the first two strides. So this is a great way to test and play with how the different models work, especially when you're learning the program. So like most accurate follows the beats the best. So generate chapter. Well, as soon as it starts, you just hit pause and it'll do those two strides together. So it should stop after that second stride. I like most accurate. if you are looking and you are very detailed and you have a specific way you have things written and you've done a lot of depth into each one of these, most accurate will follow it. Again, the most accurate. It is also, unfortunately, the most expensive. But if you want it to follow those things exact, most accurate might be your best option. Just be aware that it is going to use up those credits. So we can, I'm going to not go through all of them, but we can look at a few of them. The lawyer's office had the same earthy scent as a funeral parlor. Leo couldn't help but think it was fitting. Sophia stood behind him, her fiery eyes glaring at the beige walls with such intensity he half expected them to catch on fire. Okay, that's kind of cute. Their argument from the night before still hung in the air between them like a cloud of smoke. See, so there, especially if chapter 1 ended with them fighting, this is actually a really great way to continue into the next chapter, knowing that they went to this lawyer's office and still have not resolved that fight. Mr. Ray's, the lawyer, cleared his throat, breaking the silence. So see, it may not actually give the lawyer a name. It may keep it as the lawyer. This is an example of a dialogue tag. Your grandfather has left you this, the lawyer said, pulling out a photograph of an ancient harp. That to me is an acceptable dialogue tag. It is, to me, this one is appropriate. He actually is doing something that is relevant to the scene. A lot of times those dialogue tags are not relevant. So actually, I think that maybe that naked dialogue actually works really well because it actually isn't too bad.
Considering that it's most accurate, and that's the one that is always doing those annoying phrases
It
I
is.
hate, and it didn't do that, so
it does. It actually did pretty good. This one, Leo countered, his eyes locked on the document. I guess that could be one that you could change, but again, I think it's still relevant. I mean, he's clearly looking at the will. Maybe you want to add more in here, like, so this could be another Pandora's box. Leo countered, his eyes locked on the document. He was fighting the tears that threatened to fall. So to me, his focus on the document was his way of trying to fight the tears. Like, to me, that could become relevant. And see, like me, I will do this. Unfortunately, that's what I do. I'll start editing as I'm reading through this. But so rolled her eyes, a hint of smile played at the corner of her mouth. You know, actually, I think that most accurate actually did pretty well. It's actually pretty good. I obviously would go through and edit some of this. But yeah, most accurate did well. Let's play around. We'll do best prose. I'm gonna hit restart, so it'll do that same exact it'll do those two same straights. So we'll do these. It'll do this one here, and this 3 here, because I'll change it to a 2 so it's less confusing for you guys. 1 and 2, it'll do those 2 together again. And then so this will be best prose. Leo walked in the stalewood paneled office. Sophia trailed behind him. A motley group was already seated in front of folded chairs, distant cousins and old friends of Tomas's that Leo barely recognized. He took a seat in the back, avoiding eye contact. The lawyer, a portly man in an ill-fitting suit, cleared his throat. We are gathered today to execute the last will and testament of Tomas Rice. Leo's shoulders tense. He braced himself for the inevitable. So in this one, it doesn't bring up that Leo and Sophia had been fighting, which is fine. Maybe that's something that wasn't important. If it was important, I would have just I would just probably have just added it in, after the sentence, like, Leo, still couldn't get Sophia to talk to him after the fight. So like that, I mean, obviously that's a terrible sentence, but I would put that in so I know that at that point, at some point, I would, to me, that would be important. If it's not important and then you just want to get to the reading of the will, that's fine as well. So I like this one. Leo's breath caught in his throat. Tomas had never shown the slightest interest in passing down that old harp. Why now? So it has some of that internal dialogue. I do like that. Leo's mind swirled, emotions churning. Sophia's hand found his and grounded him. Her silence reassurance eased. So I do like best prose. I think it did a good job. I think it's a little bit more emotional. Like most accurate, I felt was a little bit more descriptive and it had a lot more dialogue. But this one I felt like you can actually feel like, to me, it has more of that emotional description. So I would actually probably combine the two so that it had that, because I did, if you guys remember, I put in that header at the top in this one, or actually not in the header, sorry, in this, Leo is upset throughout the reading of the will. So I did want that did want to bring that emotion in. I felt like best prose did the best for that. But what do you guys think?
So I just want to clarify something, because
Sure.
it's driven me crazy how when I would like rerun the same passage, with different engines, and it wasn't automatically deleting whatever I'd put in the first one. I'm too ADHD and it was driving me crazy, but you just explained to me why that's useful. It's if you slowly build the beats and redo them 2 or 3 times, it's so that you can combine what you like best about the 3 of them together.
Sure.
I was just blasting through the entire chapter and doing all the beats and then trying to go back. So that's already been helpful. Thank you. If I'm understanding correctly.
Yes. So like if you're like me, I'm kind of an edit as I go. And the great thing about Sudowrite is it will actually read back the edits that you've changed for that. Like it reads back, is it 1,000 words, Nicole? Or is it less than that?
It's 250 for this portion right here.
Okay. So it'll read back 250 words. So if you've edited it in the beats, if you've edited stuff inside the stride, it will, and you find that there's things that needed to get changed, it will actually read back that 250 words, and then it'll continue that stride from what you've edited. So to me, like, I feel like my story kind of flows better and it seems to do better if I'm going. Plus now the LLMs are learning like kind of where I want this story to go. And I also find, and this is another thing, because the LLMs are very creative at times, I will discover something that I didn't think that I wanted in that chapter. Like, I think Nicole was there when I discovered, like, I had a character who wakes up and basically starts his day in the worst way possible, spills his coffee, looks outside and sees a huge oil spill underneath his car, and he's just having like the world's worst day. I started him out alone in an apartment. Well, one of the AIs decided to throw in his sister living with him. And I suddenly went, I love that idea because now he has someone to interact with. And so I had to go back now and change all of my beats. So I just had to go back up here and include his sister now in those beats. So it's kind of nice if you go through each one of these beats, if you edit, and then that way you're going, okay, so that means the next stride needs to have this happen instead, or this needs to be included instead. So you just don't be afraid to go through and just take one stride at a time instead of feeling like you have to generate that whole chapter and then editing that whole chapter. I know sometimes, especially for me, that can be a little bit overwhelming, but a stride, 500 words to edit, to me, that's much more reasonable in my head. So if you don't be afraid to go ahead and just do that, or if you want, like me, sometimes I'll see which one I like best. And then I'll go, okay, I really like best prose. I'm going to continue now the rest of the chapter with best prose. Or maybe I find that, most accurate starts my stories the best, but then I like best prose to finish out my chapters. So don't be afraid to mix up the different LLMs. Again, just read through them and play and edit. Like, that's just the best way I can tell you. That's how learn Sudowrite, how to learn Sudowrite is just to continue to keep playing. Nicole, do you have any advice on that too?
I was going to say two things. First of all, in something we recently played around with in the spicy classes was, for those who don't know, I write a lot of dark, spicy stuff, like just dark stuff. And Best Prose will do it, which is my go-to, but it tends to skip over a lot of things or want to skip over. And I really have to force it to focus on those sexual situations. So we were playing around with doing like Tabby said. I generated the start of the scene in Best Prose. When it got to the sex part, I used unfiltered for that. Worked brilliantly because then it just followed on with Best Prose's style that it had been given that I loved. Went into details for the sexual scene, and then I switched back to Best Prose as needed. And I would say too, where she was talking about editing, I'm one of those, when I started writing, one of the first things somebody told me, another author said, don't edit as you go. And that was firmly planted in my mind. So I didn't edit. Since I've been working with AI and have been in what we lovingly, well, not lovingly, what we call editing hell, because I like to generate with multiple models, I'm actually coming around to Tabby and others' way of actually thinking about editing as I go, just because just the mere thought of having to edit after I'm done writing, it depresses me. So I would say give that a shot, even if you aren't one of those, you're firmly in the camp like I was. I don't want to edit while I write. You might want to rethink that later.
So I have a question about what you were just talking about, switching between Best Prose and Unfiltered. How do you switch them between the beats?
So just like Tabby did right there. So she's done with that beat, right? It's finished. She's ready to go to the next one. So she would just go to that drop down, select whichever model she wanted, and select continue.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, I found when I switched to Unfiltered, I couldn't. It wouldn't continue after that. I literally had to like write by hand after that.
That sounds like maybe a bug if you didn't reach the end of the chapter.
Because I was on beat 13, Unfiltered, and then I couldn't get it to do anything with beat 14, so I just had to write beat 14 by hand.
Yeah, Larry, I would just go ahead and report a bug.
Okay.
So I just report that.
Okay.
Unfiltered, I should warn you guys, there's a specific way to work with Unfiltered. Nicole has a video up on the Discord. So if you're not on Discord, check out that video. But she has one, because Unfiltered sometimes it's a great one, especially like I love the way that it writes. I think it has really good descriptions and really good dialogue. The only problem is it can go off the rails at times. And then sometimes, like you said, there will be times where you can see that it just isn't quite finishing. Don't be afraid to report that. Sudowrite doesn't know. So it just needs.
It can get away from completely and Unfiltered.
Yes, it can. I'll never forget. I was writing a zombie. And I have it somewhere, but I was writing a zombie story, and it suddenly was talking about portal. And they're like, we didn't know that the portal was opening today. And I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So some of them, and I'm not going to lie to you, the LLMs can be great. It's Best Prose is one of them too. It can be creative at times where it goes off the rails. So that's why I tell people, don't be afraid to stop it after each beat. Make sure that it's still staying on the rails and then continue again.
Thank you for your response.
Yep. And just so you guys know, if you look at Unfiltered here, it does say no first person POV. You can get it, and we prefer people take the classes to understand this. You can get it to write in first person. You just have to include that hyphen. So if you guys look up here, when I do this third person, I include that hyphen between. Include that in first person, and you'll see Unfiltered will write in first person. Thank you, Nicole, for sharing that link. Nicole shared the link for that Unfiltered video for her YouTube channel in there if you guys want to check it out. It's a great video if you guys really want to work with Unfiltered. It is one of my favorite LLMs to work in, but again, it can be a little bit frustrating at times, and you just have to take it slow. So this last one that we just did was balanced. I actually really like the way this one comes out because it creaked open. Leo's dark hair disheveled, a testament from last night's unrest. So I like that because it's already bringing in that information that I put in the header. They had a fight. Sophia at his side, her fiery presence in stark contrast to the muted grays and blues of the room. I like that it's already bringing in that tension that they're still fighting. So I do like that. I would probably brought that in. Again, I'm going to tell you guys to save yourself on credits. You do not have to do every single one of these every time you do a beat. Learn which ones you like the best. Because there will be times when you're like, I love best prose. I think it's the best. But I also sometimes love that like balance gives me the best dialogue, maybe. You know, the things like that. That's why I included in here what people say. Balanced. It is the balance between best prose and most accurate. This best prose usually has the best dialogue. Fastest, if you guys are using fastest, this is really great. It does, like, seriously, it goes really fast. As a matter of fact, there are times when you'll go and hit, and I can show you, and it might do it. You'll hit restart, and then before you can even hit pause, it's already completed the whole chapter. Like, sometimes it's just that fast. Yeah, see, it already did beats 3 and 4. So it already did 2 strides. That's how fast it is before I even could get to that pause button. So just be warned, fastest is really that fast. But it's really great because it goes that fast. And I'm gonna go down and see. We'll see. It's faster paced too. So it's really good for those action scenes. Or like if you're writing horror, it's really good for that horror scene where you've got the killer's hunting down the victim, that kind of scene. The spy is now, you know, chasing after those car chasing, those kind of things. That's when fastest actually does the best. But yeah, Leah woke up with a headache, the remnants of last night's argument. Great way to start the day. So it didn't start it them going in into the lawyer's office. But you can see it's just a little bit more, it's just a little bit faster paced. But Nicole, I'll have to admit the dialogue tags are not here as much. Let's go, he said, cradling the heart carefully in his arms. Since this is the next stride. I'm assuming that that's probably how he already knows it. But that's a dialogue tag. It is cradling the heart careful in his arms. Is that important to the scene? Maybe, but you may want to also change it. He said, because I think that you can change these so that it's more important to the scene. He cradled the heart carefully in his arms, afraid he may lose it to or may afraid he
May break a string.
I'm sorry, what? Nicole?
Might break a string.
Okay, perfect. So like things like that. Maybe this is something that's important to Leo. He is very afraid of breaking this heart. So to him, he's very careful with it. So like you want to make sure that this information behind he said is important to the theme. And maybe that's a better way to do that. Fastest does like this breaking the silence because that's the second time I heard that. Broke through his thoughts. So relieved that he's finally taking action. I had seen it before. I don't remember where I saw it. Oh, right there. Leo, she said suddenly breaking the silence. Clearly fastest, like Sophia breaking the silence. Sophia said breaking the silence. She did it, nodded, relieved he was finally taking action. Sophia's voice broke through his thoughts. And then Sophia said breaking the silence. So you guys can see here already where the AI kind of gets its own cliches and kind of gets looped. Don't be afraid to just go, Leo, Sophia said, and just leave it at that. You know, are you okay? Or if there's something important, like Sophia still seemed irritated with him. So you know, things like that, you know, you can add that. And actually that's probably better if she don't be afraid to edit and go through those things. So those are just kind of the ones that you guys go through. Don't be afraid to go through these. It's nice because when you change those different modes and stuff like that, each of them cost a different amount of credits. So just play, and then if you're really like worried about your credits and stuff like that, you can always just check in that settings, how it can show in that recent activity. It will show you, fastest used 900 to create all four. So it created 4 beats, 2 strides. That's how much it used. Most accurate used 7,000 just to create that 1 stride. So like you can see, there's a huge difference in the amount of credits that can be used in the different like in producing those different proses. So if you love most accurate, just be warned, it does use up those credits. But if you love the way it's coming out, you may want to sacrifice those credits to get the prose that you want. I know. And then you can always buy more credits, but maybe just wait the next month and then do your next, do the second half of your book, that kind of thing. That again is entirely up to you guys and how you want to use those credits. And how you find your own personal workflow, if that makes sense. So did you guys have any questions on beats or prose?
Yes, I do, but I keep asking questions, so if someone else has one, I will shush.
You're fine, sir. You have great questions.
Okay, so I've been trying to find the balance between, as you said, to try and conserve credits for the things I can only do in Sudo, namely the smutty bits. And because, Chat GPT-4 is, $20 a month, and I need to keep Sudo for what I can only do here. The thing about how the chapters don't read each other is very helpful to me. In the sense that if I do, like you said, if I feel that a chapter really needs me to spend a ton of credits on it, and I want to do that here, if I am using my basically free use, ChatGPT 4, which sounds like some of these engines, they're both using 4 anyway. I can put like a chapter 1 and 2 that I pull from there, and then if chapter 3 is the part where I want to, go, invest my credits, then that should work, because it's only reading each chapter individually anyway, and only knowing from those other chapters what I tell it. It may take some careful thought, but is that realistic, what I'm stating?
Yes, you're probably fine doing it that way, Sarah, if that's the workflow that has been working for you.
Well,
like
it hasn't really, and this has been enormously helpful for me to understand how they tie together. I was just curious if that's
sure.
one of the ways that people try to conserve their credits or not, but I just haven't understood Sudowrite before these 3 classes well enough to understand what I was doing. So this has already been very helpful.
Sure. Yeah, for me, because we Nicole, you do the dark and taboo stuff. Is there one of these that you cannot use? Like, is there one of these that will give you that error message when creating those themes?
So if you're in the right settings, and since I'm I've pretty much found the model I'll stick with. I haven't tested lately, but when Gemini came out, so a couple of months ago, I know it wasn't generating spicy stuff. It wouldn't even give you an error message. It just wouldn't generate anything. And out of these right here, all of the Claude 3s are the most easily triggered. So the people that are enjoying those are finding, they'll get a good stride out of it, and then it may throw an error message. And then balanced.
Could you repeat that? The
Claude 3s at the bottom, Opus,
Yeah.
Sonnet, Haiku. So they're likely to trigger, but the people that are using them are finding they'll get a good stride out of it. So it might write the first 2 beats. Let's just assume all of your beats are a spicy scene. It might write those first 2 beats, and then it'll give you an error message. Oh, I can't do that. So that'll be something you have to play around with, possibly. And balanced is likely to trigger if you have a header asking for certain wording or things like that.
You pretty much need to use unfiltered for spicy.
Oh, you don't? I use Best Prose. I love Best Prose. It'll curse, it'll get violent, it'll do all the things, but
Oh, okay, good.
Unfiltered just tends to go drag it out a little bit more in the detail that I like.
Okay.
Yeah, so the main reason I was asking Sarah is, so obviously most accurate is going to use the most credits. So you may like want to avoid using that one, even though it will still write those scenes for you. You may just want to avoid using it because it will use up most of your credit. But that's the only reason I was asking Nicole, like, which ones to avoid, because you don't want to get those error messages back. And Nicole's really good about playing and figuring out. So you might find one of the cheaper models, you know, using and playing with these. But like, I think it was Mixtral, I think was, or maybe it was Mythomax, I'm not sure, is one of the ones that kind of went off the rails. So you just have to be warned that these experimental ones, and even Unfiltered at times, doesn't always stay on track. So you may want to just, you know, you may want to stick with something like Best Prose and Balanced for now, or if you're willing to play and use some of those credits to play, try some of these. But that's why I just asked Nicole, so that you may not want to use Claude, so you don't use up those credits trying to play, because you know that those might already give you. But if you are, yeah, if you're writing that spicy content, there is a class. Are you guys doing that every Sunday this month, or is that next month?
I haven't rescheduled any more yet.
Okay. Okay. So there's been romance and spicy content and stuff like that. Just keep an eye out for those classes. Like there's a lot of romance writers too. So join that Discord and ask which ones they've been using and which ones give them error messages. You know, we're really good about communicating with each other. There's even a spicy and romance channel in Discord just to talk about that stuff. So join that and then ask those questions in there too, Sarah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
No, it did, and I actually tried watching one of those videos before I did 101, 201, 301, and I was just getting lost in the things that I now understand better. So yes, this was, and I'm gonna make a full comment on the Discord later about, yes, please go take these 3 classes so you will understand what you're asking. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, we laugh all the time because we're like, if you guys just took the 101, 201, and 301, a lot of your questions would be answered, or you would have a better understanding of the program. That's why, and we encourage people all the time, take them again. Go take from a different instructor. Like Nicole, I think you're running the ones next week, right?
Yes, ma'am. And I will be doing mine a little bit out of order.
Yeah. So like you'll see, we all have different workflows. We all have different ways of teaching. But yeah, don't be afraid to jump in and take from those different instructors. Like John, he's one of my favorite instructors, and we call him like he is so experimental. He loves testing the LLMs to see what they will do. And so don't be afraid to see, like, he likes to see if they'll write the dialogue in haikus. Like he's that kind of fun. Like, you know, like he likes to play, and I've learned so much from him. And Manon is the same thing. But she's very fast paced, so she covers a lot of information in her classes. So just be prepared to take notes in her classes, because she will cover a lot of information. I'm a little bit slower. I'm a little bit more beginning. I want you guys to have a deeper understanding of the programs, and I'm also writing craft. So I want you guys to understand how writing and characters and settings and all that stuff work within these programs. So I have a tendency to get stuck in those. Nicole's always trying to put me back on track. I know you're stuck on characters, but there's a lot more to cover.
Hippopotamus.
Yeah, but
and 2, it's not that we don't want to answer questions. So you may see some of us sounding like we're getting frustrated, and I'm bad about it, like in Discord. But people are asking these questions, so you always see us like attend the classes, and people are like, I don't have time for it. Oh, I don't want to watch. You know, there's always a reason. But we're not just trying to shove y'all, look, go watch these classes. We don't want to answer. We're not trying to do that. But these people go into with the mindset, well, I just want to ask questions as I go. But first of all, you can save yourself some frustration watching at least one class first. But second of all, you're only asking questions as the issue comes up. But we want y'all to kind of think about it. What would you know attending these classes before you dived in and got frustrated. Instead, if you countered a problem, oh, I remember this was covered in the class, this is how I fixed it, or, you know, having the little tips to avoid the problem in the first place. So you don't, what's the saying? You don't know what you don't know. That's why we really encourage y'all to take the classes as well.
And Bruce, you have a good question. LLM, it's the learning language models. So these are the LLMs. These are the learning language models. So like Ouroboros, Goliath, ChatGPT, Claude, those are what are called learning language models. I actually kind of prefer LLM over AI. When I think of AI, I think of it as like an android or a Terminator, you know, like I think of it as actual intelligence. These are, to me, are learning language models, so that it's an actual language model. And that's what this is it's producing languages. So that's why I usually default to LLM over AI, just so you guys know. Although I don't want the AIs to get mad at me, although I don't think Claude could ever get mad at anybody.
Sure does seem to get frustrated with me sometimes.
It's true. It is your arch nemesis. But yes, like, I think we're coming up on the hour. I was gonna just show you guys, so I'm gonna jump over to this. This is the beta Sudowrite. I was gonna show you guys the new characters box that they've been working on. So this is the same story. These are the characters that I had worked on. They are now working on different character boxes. So in here, you can just go ahead and generate an entire cast, or you can just generate a single character. So like, let's say I wanted to work on Leo. So I can just copy this in. So let's just go ahead and work on one character. So you just hit generate character. The nice thing is you can just randomly create one, or if you have custom instructions for a character. So like I could take, actually, I could probably just take in all this information. And just put this in and just hit go, and it will create this character box for me. In it, you can also customize. So if you want, like, in it, the default is to just have personality, background, physical description, and the dialogue style. You can now add additional information. Like, let's say you want strength, and then you want to add in weaknesses, like those kind of things. You can just go add to current characters, or if you want, you can save it as a new default. If you save it as a new default, it will save to all of your projects across Sudowrite. If you do it just current, that means it will automatically just save it to the current characters that you have generated. So like this one, Leo, you know, he's here, and I actually, because I just put him in, it should take it. You can see it does do a really good job of adding it in. So his personality, it added that anagram types, the Pisces. It also included information, additional information. And I love this too, because to me, this is a lot deeper of a character description than obviously the ones that we were getting here, if that makes sense. So this is just what we were getting. And then now with this new set, you're getting all of this just for his personality, all of this for his background. This is his physical description, his dialogue styles, and now strengths and weaknesses. Since I added those in later, it didn't populate, but you can also add those in. And because his anagram type is here, often feels fundamental, and something is missing from his life, well, that might be a weakness. I can just pop that into his weaknesses or his strengths. It's really fun to do that, generating characters. Or if you just want to go ahead and hit, I don't have it now because I created a character, but you can just go ahead and hit that, create an entire cast. It also has here, like, you can assign protagonist, antagonist, supporting character, minor character, and love interest. So if you want to assign that here, you can.
So I have
You
a
can
question.
also delete it.
It
Sure.
said, anagram type 4, which is a behavioral model, right?
It's a personality type.
Yeah, personality type. So
Yes.
are you familiar with the personality type of Snow White, which is the 7-character model?
I don't think I am actually.
So like dark, sleepy, dopey, happy, sneezy. Is it?
Okay, I love it.
It basically it's a model I was taught in a corporate environment, which allows us to easily identify different character types we're interacting with for business or stories. And I was
Okay.
wondering if Sudowrite has any facility or potential future facility for using that character model or behavioral model instead of this
Oh.
one.
Well, I honestly, because of my prompting, if you go back, if you look at my prompting for characters, I actually prompt it to put
Oh,
in, I actually prompt my thing to actually put in, like, I want the anagram type, the
okay.
Myers-Briggs, and
So that's
astrology
coming from
sign.
you.
That's coming from me. Yeah.
Ah,
So you might, and I don't know if the LLMs know this or not. I don't know if they know it or not, but
yeah.
they might already be aware of the Snow White personalities. I was not aware of it. So you
Oh,
might actually want to include in there.
I've been using it for more than 15 years, and I can tell you when I was trained in it, I was sent to do a negotiation with another company. I was on
Yeah.
one side of the tables, there's 7 of them on the other side, and I was able to control the meeting because of it. That's how powerful it is. So if we could integrate that into our stories, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I would like, yeah, I would do that, Larry. I actually
Okay.
now I'm gonna go. Now I'm gonna go and study this. I'm a researcher, so now
Put
you
it
got
this
me
way.
interested. So now I'm gonna go research.
This training I'm talking about has been taught in the State Department for a long time, you know,
Okay.
and so
Okay.
if we can integrate it into our storytelling, I can tell you, I advised fire departments and many of their leaders use it for in the hiring process.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they
Interesting.
can put the right person in the right spot. You wouldn't want to put a bashful to be in charge of a command decision or a grumpy in
Gotcha.
charge of the reception desk.
Gotcha.
ChatGPT is aware of this method,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
which means Sudowrite would be. So in this case,
Ah, okay.
where Tabby
Good.
has her field names, the personality background, keep something in mind when y'all click that customize button. Those field names can actually be instructions.
Uh-huh.
So she
Yes.
has strengths
So if
with,
you want to,
okay, so let's take the physical description. Okay, yeah, what she's doing there too, but where she says physical description, she could also put to make sure you describe any tattoos, unique, or unique features, just kind of go into depth. I definitely want hair color, build type, frame type for the body. I can't even body type, whatever. So you can put instructions right there in the field. It holds up to 300 characters.
That's
Or is
cool.
it, yeah, I think, yeah, 300 characters it holds. So you
So
can,
how soon are they gonna give this to us?
this is releasing next month.
Oh, excellent.
yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
forward to it. Thank you,
yeah.
guys. You answer really great questions. I feel much more excited about using it after just this webinar.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, if and like Nicole said, if chat's aware of it, that means Sudowrite is too. So like if you want to, and you can add in and customize those boxes, and like Nicole said, it reads that as an instruction. So like if instead of me just having just this this as just personality, it included all of mine. It included my anagram type, my Myers-Briggs, and my astrology. You can actually break that down even further. So if you want it to go down and you're like, you know what, instead of personality, I just want it to have the astrology sign. You can do that. Like let's say that's the one you want to stick with. You can do that. So you just do that, and then it'll add that to your characters. So you don't have to have the full list like I do. Like I said, that was just my prompting. Those are the most popular ones that I've heard of. Now I need to learn about the Snow White personality trait. This sounds like fun.
And I think Tabby agrees with me too, where it says dialogue style. I always tell people also include a sample. So mine is dialogue style. Then I have a separate box for example line of dialogue. And it generates that for me too. I think Tabby agrees that it tends to pull stuff in better that way. So that's something else I also
especially
encourage y'all to do.
Yeah, especially if you have like character quirks, or if you know that they like if they speak in short, quick like sentences, or if they speak in long, very descriptive sentences. Those are things that you want to include in your dialogue style, and then include an actual sentence that has those, like exactly how your character would say something. So not just the style, but an actual dialogue line, something that they would actually say. I agree with Nicole. It helps. It helps create better prose. It helps make your characters sound more distinct throughout the book.
Can I make sure I understood you correctly? So in the dialogue style box, you would actually add a snippet of actual writing for that character, or you'd create a
You
separate field
can,
for that.
but I would
Like
actually,
bullet
I
writing
would
sample
do
or
exactly
something?
that. Yep, I would actually put in dialogue sample,
Awesome.
and then actually put in an actual sample of something that they would say. And you can use things like in here, like we do have chat 3.5 now, but like you pay, Sarah, you already pay for Chat GPT 4. Go, what is an example of how this character would sound? What is a line of dialogue they would actually say?
Mhm.
And then put that exact line in there.
Yeah.
So like, you know, in here, like I'd shown you guys in the 101, you guys can go into that quick edit, and then you can change that to quick chat, and you can ask it, what's a dialogue line that this character would say? I'd highlight a character, obviously not a description, but let's say you've generated, like I generated this chapter 2, and you really like one of the dialogue lines from one of these characters, like one that's already in here. Um, like this, like Leo, joyous occasion indeed. Like you're saying, I love that line. You could just copy and paste it and put it right back into that character's box. And then you have your sample of something that how he would express himself. And and that it really does make a difference. So that dialogue sample would just go right in there. And then the next thing they're working on too is now also the world building. So this is really great. This is really good. This is not just for fantasy and science fiction, you guys. This is also for contemporary. This is for action. It is helping you guys. It helps you guys with locations. It can also help with the lore and magic and even the world building in the science fiction, you know, like gravity, atmosphere, those kind of things. But don't like think of an apartment layout also as its own character, its own world building. You want to know how your apartment's laid out and stuff like that. This is what this can do. So you can just hit here, you can customize it. So in each one of these, you know, like setting, organization, lore, a key event, a clue. So if you're working on those mysteries, you can include those clues. Magic system, item, technology, government, economy, culture, religion, and then you can also do a custom. In this, you just add in that description.
And world building's already in, right?
I'm sorry, what was that, Sarah?
Right, world building's already in current pseudo, right?
No, not yet. It's still in beta
Oh,
as
it's still
well.
beta? Okay.
Yes, yeah. That's why I'm showing it to you guys in here.
Thank you.
It's just in testing right now. Is world building going to be released about the same time characters is, Nicole? Do you know? Have you heard?
I haven't asked, but we have our ambassador and teacher meeting coming up in a few days, so
Okay.
I'm thinking since it came out, you know, since we've only tested this a couple of weeks now, they might need a little bit more time, but who knows?
Yeah. There's usually a community hangout around the first of the month, so it should be coming up here for the May. Go to those too. Go to those community hangouts. They give you updates. They also let you know what's in beta testing. They let you know what we're working on, and then kind of the dates and stuff of hoping when they'll get things actually released. So don't be afraid to go attend those community hangouts because they're really great about telling you what they're working on. But yeah,
Great.
this is kind of like the lore. Yep, you're welcome, Sarah. But this is just for lore. It's not, don't think of this just for fantasy and science fiction. You know, if you're working on action, if you're working on romance and stuff like that, this is still great stuff that to have for your AI to make your things even better. Like let's say you're working on a romance and a coffee shop and a bakery are very important to the settings. Well, there's nothing wrong with you putting those in your world building section and creating those locations right here. And then that way, when you're going, it's in the coffee shop, the AI already knows where to look for, okay, how is the copy shop set up? Where is it located? What's the importance? Those kind of things. So that's one of these, that's what I'm really excited about with that world building section.
Good for
So-
murder scenes. So those of y'all who write murder mysteries and y'all need to keep referencing that scene or want the AI to keep referencing it,
Mhm.
it's good for setting that up.
Yep. So, especially when there's clues, like we had said, clues and stuff around that, if your detective needs to go back, you don't have to, you can reference your own world building here. And that's what I'm excited about, and go, okay, where was that gun in that scene? You can actually already have it set up in that world building. So you don't have to, I used to be one who actually draw out diagrams. Like, I'd map out apartments and I'd map out crime scenes and I'd map out, locations. There's nothing wrong with that. And now with the world building, it also helps with that. It helps with those descriptions.
So in ChatGPT, one of my stories is interdimensional travel political thriller. And I actually spend time in ChatGPT and have it help me build all of the tech, the quantum computing tech and all the advanced AGI tech to make all this stuff work. And then I refer to that in ChatGPT so it knows what I'm talking about later in the story.
Okay.
How would I do something similar or integrate that into the world building process here?
Well, that is a good question, Larry.
Because let me give you an example.
Sure.
To make the interdimensional travel between our dimension and other dimensions, I had ChatGPT propose to me all the different quantum computing and quantum engineering, even the actual hardware that would be used to make this work theoretically. And then make it, I had it write down complete technical dissertations at the PhD level so that I can have a rounded way of being able to refer to stuff and have it integrated into the story. So now, and I titled it, so now I can just refer to the title and it knows what I'm talking about. Is it conceivable, for example, I could do this work in ChatGPT, then copy that and paste it into things like the magic system or technology, or is that a potential way to integrate this? Because I would imagine you wouldn't try to do that ChatGPT work here, but could I use could I copy the information from ChatGPT and place it here and have Sudowrite refer to it?
Hey, Tabby, what I would actually, do whatever you want, it's your class, but what I would actually do is do that custom for the common world building entries and have that custom named interdimensional travel. And then he could have boxes for each of those things, like if he wanted to discuss the technology, the rules,
cool.
Whatever else applied to it.
That's cool, because then the AI can simply refer to that.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, that solves it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole. I was just gonna actually work with technology, but no, that's actually, you're saying customize it.
Yeah, that's better for me because I can get specific on the technology.
Yes.
Because there's one piece of the tech, for example, that's for the actual transporting, but there are others for maintaining communication between the dimensions. It gets really geeky. Okay.
Right.
It gets super geeky. I mean, I have my nano antennas going,
Yeah,
so,
well, and I write science fiction too, so I know sometimes some of that tech, like explaining technology, but not wanting to bore your readers at times. But there has to be a background to it. There has to.
And one of the reasons I go so deep is I don't want to simply write a novel. So I'm actually creating companion websites for all my novels. And so
I love it.
that my readers can now go and they can get all the super geeky details. And I'm creating the stories for the backstories for every character that goes years into their making before they came into the novel, and then their lives after the novel. And so, yeah, you don't want to overload your readers with this stuff, but I'm creating the extra things to separate me from the other authors. And so,
you're like, there's I have the campaign, like the companion books that go with it if you want to go in depth and how I did the studies.
Yeah. So
I love it.
Yeah,
that's great marketing stuff too.
Yeah, this world building will be big for me. Thank you.
Good. Good. Yeah, I'm very excited about the world building too. I write science fiction and fantasy. I dabble in it. I can't say I've actually done in-depth writing in it yet, but I love dabbling in the world of science fiction and fantasy. And it can become, this world building and lore stuff can be quite extensive. And trying to fit it in this little tiny 2,000 word box just wasn't working. And so a science fiction fantasy writers were like, we need a box.
Yeah,
We need a world building box. So that's what they've done. They're working on it now because they've had enough push on it to finally go, okay, we think it's worth you guys actually getting the lore box is kind of what we've kind of been calling it. So
I did share a link in chat. Sorry, I don't think I said something. That Google spreadsheet, it's just template ideas I came up with on chat and some I had from Scrivener and everything, just to help give y'all ideas for things y'all can do with y'all's character and world building boxes too.
sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording. If you guys still have questions, please stay on, and then Nicole, do you mind this being recorded?
Oh, that's fine. Just whenever you're done teaching, I was going to share my town template for anybody that wants to see it to get ideas.
Okay, yeah. Did you want me to stop the recording though for that, or
No, I people can see. I think I've already shown them on my YouTube channel anyways.
Sure, then yes, please take over.
All righty. So very simple. Ignore the magic one that was while I was playing with the video. So I have a setting and town. So it's where you saw Tabby's just had the custom. These weren't there, but as soon as you set up a custom one in this box, it's going to, sorry, wrong thing. But as soon as you set up a custom one, it's going to drop it down into here. So this is my town one that I made, location of the town. And this is how you can see the instructions. So instead of just a physical description of the town, when the Sudowrite generates my description, I'm telling it I want key locations, climate, weather, unique features of each one, those type of things. And I did one for setting. And I'm telling it again in the description, I want sights, sounds, smells, and unique features. So that's what I mean when I say you can do instructions. Same thing with my character one. If I go to character, this is like my favorite one. So my sample line of dialogue, I'm telling it what I want it to do. All of these instructions right here, and it's listening really well, y'all. So play around with that. Again, it holds up to 300 characters. But the town is here, and I was very, very happy with how it came out. I think we actually did this in a class, or maybe it was a private session. I don't remember. So we were playing around with it. So this is the name of the town, Silver Shore. And it had these places, these key locations. So we were playing around with, okay, should it be here in the other names? And as John pointed out, it should, because this name and these names are what instruct the AI to go to that card. So those names do need to be in one of these spots for it to pull the information from this card. So keep that in mind. So my town and the key locations in it. So I'm just getting the general town stuff. And then it does each key location. And I just separated it by numbers. I don't know if that made a difference, but like I always say, don't give the AI a chance to get confused. It was nothing to put some numbers ahead of each one. And I did test this with prose, and it pulled in 2 of the locations, them driving down the highway to go to the bluffs, and it ignored this, which is in a completely different spot. So it does work for it to grab those locations just like this. So play around with all that. And I'm just showing you everything I put here. So hopefully that helps.
That's deep.
I had fun.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah, that's great.
I did the same thing with my Jack the Ripper story doing Whitechapel. I did the murder scenes, making sure Whitechapel was described a certain way to kind of capture that feeling that people were, I'm sure, going through at that time. Y'all are going to love it. It's so much fun.
There's a lot to look forward to.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole, for sharing that. You can tell that Nicole's gone a lot more in depth in her boxes than I have. It
will take you down a rabbit hole. I highly encourage y'all to just play with that for a day. see what all the things you can do. People have come up, like suspect list. They've tested out where they titled one secrets. Wasn't perfect, but that was a way to kind of help, the AI not mention things. And in the beta channel, we've talked about eventually they're planning on having a toggle. So by each of, where was it? And they probably go over this in the community hangout too. So by each of these, these little 3 dots, they plan on having something to where you can say, hide this from the AI, which will be, of course, great for, let's say you want to put all your information in one box just so you can easily copy it, paste it somewhere as you need it. But you don't want the AI seeing all that. You'll be able to hide it from the AI eventually.
Yeah, we should mention that is AIs are terrible at keeping secrets. So if you know like your story is going to end in tragedy, don't let the AI know yet, because in the beginning, in the very first chapter, it will mention, unfortunately, Leo doesn't know that this is going to end in tragedy. Like it will mention it in the very beginning. So just be warned, the AI is kind of like a 10-year-old in that way of, oh, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. I always say, think about it how you want the reader finding out. If you don't want your reader knowing it at that point, the AI doesn't need to know it.
Yep. I don't know if they're still granting access or not to the beta. I think it's so close to being released that they're probably not gonna give access, because I really do think it's coming out in May, you guys. It'll be out really soon.
Yeah, they're hoping, stress the hoping, things happen. They're hoping about a week after, so like the second week of March, April, May.
Yeah.
Am I the
I
only
know,
one
right?
that see the months in my head?
Nope, I sing them all the time.
That and the ABCs. Oh.
Yep. ABCs, the months, and even sometimes the days. I'm like, what comes after Wednesday? Hold on, I gotta start on Sunday.
Oh, Jenny, I did take a screenshot of that town if you wanted it, like my things, the fields. I don't know if that's helpful to you. I think it was Jenny. That was it. Yeah. If you want, let me know and I can post it.
Okay,
Yeah, and just one second, Bruce. So I was just going to mention, this is also another reason we say take the 101s, 201s, and 301s a lot too, because Sudowrite is always changing, you guys. And just because you think you know it and it pops up with something new, don't be afraid to take those classes again to learn what Sudowrite comes out with. They are constantly changing and improving the program. But yes, Bruce, you had a question?
Yeah, on the outline, when I know it's on the outline, it always, well, in my case, ends with happy ever, that happy ending. And I don't want that. I'm trying to do a series. So I don't, so can you get, Sudowrite to not do a happy ever after? Or
Ooh.
that's something you got to
I was going to say, Nicole, you want to take that one?
So, okay, so first of all, I just normally, cut out the remainder, but I was really struggling with the outline recently, and Ryan was looking into it for me. And I was actually just going to unveil this tip in my series, in my classes next week, but y'all get the sneak peek. He told me this stupid, simple thing, and I'm like, why haven't you shared this with us before? Or why didn't we think of that? So he told me to put, and then again, my issue with the outline was, it was book 1 and it was setting up all the events. So it ended horribly. And, it was supposed to catapult the characters into the next book. And it kept wanting to just, oh no, they go on a mission and they do all these rescues and everything. Like, no. Anyways, sorry, I got excited over it because it worked like a charm. So I put, let me double check just to make sure that I tell y'all the exact wording correctly. Where is my message from him? I'm not sharing, right?
No, you're not sharing.
No.
Thank you. Okay, so in square brackets in the genre box, include cliffhanger ending. Yeah, how simple is that? And it worked. I did it and it ended off exactly where I wanted it to stop.
Are you serious?
Yes. I fussed. I was like,
In
why
which
haven't you
font?
told us about
In
this?
genre?
In the genre box. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's good to
And I was actually going to try it out for beats because you know how beats are always wanting to wrap up too. Of course, you're supposed to edit your beats to make them good. But I wondered, well, if this is in our genre and style box, how well will it work to keep the strides from wrapping up or the beats from trying to wrap up? So that may be something y'all want to experiment with too.
Yeah, because you want your chapters to end on a cliffhanger so that your readers turn to the next they go, okay, I can't put this book down. I have to go to the next chapter. So that's great. You're right, Nicole. Why didn't we think of that?
Yeah. I find like, why have you hidden this? Why didn't you tell us about this and you kept it secret? He's like, I didn't do it intentionally.
Right? He's like, I kind of figured you guys would have figured that out on your own.
You're the one that's supposed to be a teacher, Nicole. You agree, Lucalia? I mean, or did you already know that too and kept it from us?
No.
This is what y'all, we have all been, I think several of us here have been using this program for a year or more. And we never thought of that. So
Yep.
don't ever be ashamed of, asking what you think is a stupid question, or this is
Yeah.
what we say, you keep learning as you go.
You do.
So, Nicole, what you're saying is we can play around with this, like making the last beat include cliffhanger ending to get a chapter to end the same way.
Correct.
We can try it out
because-
and see if it works.
Yep.
Yeah, so it worked on the outline. And so of course, since style is the last thing that prose looks at, so I'm thinking if you have it in your style box, it'll help avoid those, that's what my hoping. It'll help avoid that. And then genre affects beats, well, style affects beats too. But I think if you really wanted to enforce that, I would actually include it in both the genre and style boxes, because we usually all have room in our genre box anyways. I would
Yeah,
try.
don't be afraid to overtell the LLMs. Don't be afraid to overtell them over and over again that this is what you want.
Yeah, I put in both my genre and style to avoid moralizing characters or their actions, just to reinforce that. And now I don't get oh, he knew he shouldn't do this, but he did it, nothing like
Wait,
that.
could you repeat that, what you just said, or just type it in?
Avoid moralizing characters or their actions.
Oh, yes.
Keep in mind, I write some jerks. Oh,
I was gonna say we
another
both,
word and realize
both
you're
right.
still
Yeah, I think put in a line everywhere of like nobody has a problem with the mafia.
Yes. Yep. Oh, like whenever you're
It's an
working with
imaginary
chat,
world where nobody cares.
when you're working with chat and it's like, when they find love and they decide to leave their life of crime, I'm like, no, they don't. They take over the world.
Yes.
But y'all feel free to play around with that. Let us know if it works, especially if it helps with like the beats and prose and everything.
Yeah, please join us in Discord and give us your hints and things that are working for you, because we love getting feedback, and then we love testing and going, oh, let's see if it works for my story. Plus then we might steal your idea and tell others in the next 101. So
Just for the record, Tabby and I think Blanc does it too. We're good about giving credit. So don't think, oh, if I share this, nobody's going to know it. My love language is words of recognition. So I know I love being recognized and I don't want to take that from anybody. We're good about, hey, we learned this from so-and-so.
Yep. Yeah. Well, we will give you credit and prompts, and like, trust me, it is very, like, you have no idea how much we appreciate that, like that you guys are willing to share this stuff, because like this whole world of LLMs and AI, this is all brand new. And so like helping each other is kind of be like our best way, I think, to get the best story, to get the best prose, to get the best characters, that kind of stuff. I mean, if you absolutely want to hold it tight to your chest, please do. Don't feel like you have to, but if you're willing to, trust me, it is appreciated through all of us.
That's great.
But I'm gonna
learn better together right now.
Yeah, it is. It's so new that we're learning better together right now. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, if you want to keep your secrets, please do. There's nothing wrong with you going, I'm holding this close because I don't want people to steal it. That's fine. But I'm one of those who I'm open. I want to share with you guys everything I know, I know Nicole is very open. That's why she puts out her books and gives all of her prompts. She has no problem sharing with you how she's getting the program to work.
Just
But
ask for like $5 in return. That's it.
yeah, and Manon is Manon is the same. Manon is very open about how she gets those AIs to get, to give the right dialogue, to get the right prose and stuff. So go to Manon's classes. She's a great instructor. She has so much information. I get overwhelmed in her classes because I'm just like, whoa, Manon, you are so knowledgeable. I just can't even keep up. Same with Nicole. You guys just have so much knowledge between you guys. So my world is very different. I'm very writing craft. I'm very much focused on how to write your stories. And so the AI world to me is brand new. And prompting it is different for me because I kind of get focused in that writing craft side. Manon, you're so cute.
I'm wondering
Don't
too,
blush.
I'm wondering if it's because we all started when Story Engine started. We were in the beta for this. For those who don't know, Storybop used to be called Story Engine. I'm wondering because back then nobody really knew how to work. The developers put this together, but even they were learning how everything worked. So we had to help each other, or else nobody was going to get anything accomplished. So it was just constantly sharing tips. Hey, this worked. Oh, try this. I think that just kind of carried over, which I love. That's what makes a community, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, but I'm going to go ahead and stop that recording. I will be posted. So check in with the Discord and it'll be in there eventually. You don't have to leave right now if you want to stay, hang out and ask questions. I'll be on for a little bit longer, but I'm just going to end that recording. So thanks for joining us.